JD, what's going on, man? It has been a while. We tried to record an episode last week and had some faulty technical difficulties, if you will, but here we are back again. I hope everyone was okay and they survived the week without hearing from us. But how you feeling, man? What's going down in Portland?
Man, we are good. The weather was great, and I'm excited to kick off episode 3 with my good friend.
Let's do it, man. Well, right now the NBA Finals, we're in game two just finished. We're heading into game three. We're gonna have a venue switch. But if we rewind a little bit, that's not the only thing going on. We have the draft lottery, which is for all the teams that knew they weren't going to be playing right now in June, and we're hoping to better their roster by losing some games, and more blatantly so, the Dallas Mavericks didn't work out for them, but another Texas team was able to snag that. San Antonio winning the draft lottery, almost almost the probably the second most sure thing of who's going to be picked number one in my lifetime, next to LeBron. But what are your thoughts on San Antonio and what Big Vic's going to do for them?
I think Big Vic's going to, be a great asset to the NBA. He is the European, um, he's the next wave, what European players look like. Tall, lanky, but also has point guard skills. Uh, Hopefully, he's not street clothes Anthony Davis, and can stay healthy and produce at a high level that they're all saying that he's gonna be.
He reminds me a little bit of another guy who came from Europe who was extremely long and skilled and scrawny. Kristaps Porzingis. So you're telling me he's not going to be another Kristaps? Like, what's his ceiling and what's his floor?
I don't know what his ceiling is. I can't really project that. I don't know. We can't. We're putting limits on people
I mean,
now.
people are saying LeBron. People are saying LeBron is he's the next LeBron. So that's got
That's really up there. I mean, there's only one LeBron, there's only one Kobe, and there's only one Mike Jordan. So, I think he's the next Big Vic, Big Slim. He's 7'4". He's got shooting range from deep. He's got handle. I mean, the NBA handle of the year was who, Kris? It was
I
KD.
mean it was a big man. It was another nickname with the slim in it, but he's kind of like if you were building a 2K player and it was like all the things you wanted
Yeah.
that weren't true, couldn't happen. Let me make him as long as possible, kind of athletic, can handle, can shoot, will bang on you. Okay, this is what you get. So, and like I said, he's probably the most sure number one pick in the NBA, maybe of any sport since LeBron. So, I mean, probably only second one of our lifetime. So who would you take in this hypothetical, LeBron or Big Vic? You get the first pick.
I'm taking the freight train, the locomotive. Always and forever, I'm taking a well built player, someone who has size, someone who can run downhill. And I dare you to get in front of this freight train, and his name is LeBron James. Um, LeBron James is the same age as us, so watching his career arc, um, who knows? Is it still going? I don't know. We know he's on hole at least 17, 16. He's teeing up right now. I mean, he might even be teeing
Mm-hmm.
up for hole 18 right now as we speak. But
It's
uh,
late on Sunday.
yes, and we got good 20 years out of LeBron, and I'm thankful that I got to witness it. Like the billboard said, we are a witness, and he's just a great player.
Yeah. So here's my it's an obvious answer, but if we want to give it some airtime and actually put some reasoning behind it, you're looking at a body of work before they get to the league. Big Vic has a body of work of highlights against European dudes we've never heard of, probably very talented, probably very tough league. But if to be correct, highlights of dudes dominated in Europe and all the hype that we hear of like, oh, they've been playing professionally since they were 14. The only time that's really come true is with Luka Doncic. He came in ready to play.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be skeptical on those European highlights, although he's the creative player from 2K that we never, we always wanted. Now you look at LeBron's highlights, and he's 6'7", 6'8", 220, 230 as a 17-year-old kid, dunking on kids and on ESPN2 before they had Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff. I'm actually excited to see they got a show coming out, or it might be a movie on Peacock about that St. Vincent St. Mary's team. I don't know who they have playing LeBron, but
They
it just
got
came out. I might have
Mookie
to watch
Cook
that.
of Jefferson High School playing LeBron.
From Jefferson and Portland?
Yes, Mookie Cook that's going to U of O he plays LeBron, keeping it local.
And he must be nice. Yeah. I wonder, I mean, that might have been a Nike connection then, right? Like, how else would you get cash for that?
I mean, it's got to be.
You got LeBron, you got Oregon, you got Portland. Like, that's got to be where they linked up. I
But
wonder
Mookie
that.
only played 1 year at Jeff due to Corona happening. He moved to Arizona to go play for Compass in Arizona because
Okay.
basketball got canceled here in Portland due to COVID. And like
Yeah.
some states, COVID wasn't a thing in some states. They shut it down.
Hey, man, we'll still claim them, though, just like we claimed Terrence Ross and Terrence Jones, when they made it to the league, man, the two
Sure.
Terrences.
Hey, he went
But
to
hey,
Jeff.
man, so the start of these careers. Let's look at the end of someone's career. Uh, yeah, it was a week or two ago. But the dude left 2 decades of an impression on us, getting bucket after bucket after bucket. Carmelo is gone, man. We all knew, everyone kind of thought he was retired or gone anyway. I mean, ever since he left Portland, really, is he still in the league? Was he not? But R.I.P. Melo, man. You got some thoughts to share on Melo's career?
I do, Chris. Melo is a guy who, like LeBron, we've been following since Oak Hill. He came here to Portland in 2001 and lit the city up down at the Coliseum for the Les Schwab Invitational. Oak Hill, obviously, Coach Smith there at Oak Hill, their track record, they hang a banner for every jersey that goes D1 and goes to the pros. And Melo went to Syracuse, played for Jim Boeheim, won their only national championship, goes on and plays in 4 Olympics, 3 golds, 1 bronze. Was he ninth all-time leading scorer in the NBA? He's a certified bucket. 75th anniversary
He
team.
was the leading Olympic scorer for the longest time. I still recognize him as the leader. I don't care what KD says.
He's just a certified bucket, a good guy. And when he came to Portland and I watched this game, I was like, man, I wish he could have just played and just sat in the corner and hand me that rock, give me my rebounds, and just, keep getting them checks.
All those accolades that he has under his belt. It's there's one piece of jewelry the man never got for all the great things that he accomplished. He never won the chip, never got a ring, and that brings up the conversation of who are the best 5 players to never win a ring. And I start off my top 5 with number 5, and that's the man Carmelo. Carmelo, I mean, he's a bucket. He's a legend. He's a suit and he's street. Like he can class it up and make your organization look really good, but he can also get dirty and get you buckets and get grimy. And there's some funny videos of him coming out right now that he's retiring. Number 4, I got Barkley. And here's a sneak peek. He's the only power forward on my list. So Karl Malone is not on there. I got Barkley, the round mound and rebound, all the stuff he did in Philadelphia, came to Phoenix, added a jumper. He didn't need anyone to get him the ball. He could get a bucket from the from the free throw line extended all the way out to the 3-point line from the top of the key on the block, get his own ball, get a rebound, steal, block, whatever it is, push the break. And he kind of had a little handle for a big dude. Um, then number three, we're gonna roll into some point guards. Uh, Steve Nash, two-time MVP, made everyone around him better, changed the game. Everyone talks about how Steph changed the game, and he did. But Steve Nash changed the style of play for a lot of people. I think that gets recognized because now it's that style of play has added, shooting from 600 feet away because of Steph Curry. But that push the ball, fast pace, make everyone better. That flow offense, that was Steve Nash. Never won a ring though. Then I got my number two, John Stockton. There is people always put Stockton and Malone together. I think there's no Karl Malone without John Stockton, but I think there's a John Stockton without a Karl Malone. Um, you know, he made people around him better, but he was feisty, he was fierce, all-time leader in steals and assists for a long time, and did it looking like a dude that should be wearing New Balances, cutting the grass next door. Unassuming guy from Gonzaga, love that man. And then number one, we talking about practice? We talking about AI? That dude, he was the best player to never win a ring, hands down. I don't care what any list says out there. Allen Iverson, the most talented NBA player not to win a ring. He came really close against your Lakers. Tyronn Lue remembers that probably more than he does a loss in the finals. But we'll leave it there, man. Who do you got for your top five?
All right, I'm gonna work my way from the best player, and that's Elgin Baylor. I never got to see him, too young, but all the stats and accolades let us know that he was the Mike Jordan of the 50s and 60s. And sure enough, the year he retires, the Lakers win a championship. The year after, they lost 6 times to the Boston Celtics and Bill Russell and Bob Cousy and all those guys. Number
He was on
two,
that Jim. He was on that Jim Kelly prescription.
I got to go Charles Barkley. I got his book right here behind me, man, and I love Charles. Charles was the guy who said, "All right, um, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna try to beat Mike." And I really think that the Phoenix series against the Bulls was probably the best series that the Bulls had in their 6 championships. Michael went for a
Still
double
took
and
it in
missed.
six.
Yeah,
They still took it in six.
yep. And Phoenix had home, they had home court too, So
Mm-hmm.
John Paxson hit that shot. It was a great shot. What's his name? Mike. Hey, Phil told him in the last dance, Paxson is open, just like he did against the Lakers in game 5, hitting buckets. I just like Charles, man. He's a leader. I love him. I really like
Mm-hmm.
Charles. I think his game, like you said, the step back against San Antonio, top of the key for 50, triple double, busting up. What's Seattle? All those great series. The kiss of death, Mario Elliott and those boys. I think that
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix probably wins a chip against that year if it wasn't for them blowing a
The
3-1
Rockets.
lead. Number 3, I got to piggyback off of you. He's our culture setter. He was the culture. He was the man, and that's not other than AI. I don't know if you'd ever catch me wearing a non-pair of Nikes, but the only pair of non-Nikes I was ever going to wear was some AIs, and
Same.
that's it. You know what I mean? Like his shoes, the questions and the answers. I didn't have the answers, but the questions, those are a top 5 silhouette. They are an iconic shoe, and who wears Reeboks? Nobody, but people wear AIs. Uh,
Crossfitters.
yeah. At that time, Chris, you remember the DMX shoes? The Reebok had came
DMX
out.
had shoes.
No, 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 no. The
Yeah.
DMX, not DMX the rapper, but the DMX Reeboks. I had them on in our picture when we went to the camp. Remember, we traded.
Oh yeah, I remember those DMX
That
shoes
was a new
before DMX
technology.
was DMX.
Yeah. Number 4, I got to piggyback again. That's because I really liked his game. And like you said before, man, he made everybody else better, and that's Steve Nash. 2-time MVP, 75th anniversary team. I loved him when he was with Dallas. And I was like, why are you leaving Dallas and Dirk Nowitzki and Mike Finley to go play in Phoenix for D'Antoni? And sure enough, that first year, they win 63 games. and it wasn't for a Robert Ory hip check, bloodied up face and, blood dripping down, they might go to the NBA Finals. Who knows what happened? And number
Hmm.
5, I got to give it up to the point guards, and that's Chris Paul and James Harden. Uh,
Oh, you doing a combo?
Yeah, I got to because those are two guys we've seen their
Okay.
career. We've watched their career. James Harden, the MVP, three-time scoring champ, assist leader. Chris Paul, I call him Mr. April through October. You know what I mean? Come May and June, bro's getting hurt.
He got an injury. He
You
got an
know,
injury.
and
If anyone needs load management, it's that man.
yeah. But I'll say this though, and the reason why it's Chris Paul and James Harden there is because those guys were really close to beating KD and Steph and Clay and Draymond if it wasn't for a Chris Paul injury. But if it wasn't for Trevor Ariza, PJ Tucker, Chris Capella, if those guys could have made a three-pointer in Game 7 in Houston, I think that those guys don't get enough credit for actually, like, they played some good basketball and they were really close. And injuries are part of the game, As Golden State, they're that close to winning a three-peat, with KD tearing an Achilles against Toronto. So that's my top 5. To keep it local, we're going to start bench cut. I'm going to say start bench cut Dame Lillard, Steve Nash, AI. Start bench cut with the hometown Lillard, Nash.
I'm starting AI. Dame's coming off the bench, and Steve is getting me water.
Wow.
That's bias right there, boy.
Wow. Two-time MVP,
Well,
you're cutting.
I mean, I gotta say, I'm loyal to the soil, my guy. What am I gonna do? I can't bench. I mean, I can't cut Dame, put him on the bench, and you gotta put AI on the. We're talking about Sixers AI, right? We're talking peak.
Now we're talking Memphis Grizzlies.
Oh, okay. He's getting me water then. Are we talking Lakers Nash then?
Yeah, man. I think that's a good, start bench cut to go with Dame Lillard, Nash, and AI because Lillard is on that cusp of being, I don't know. I mean, we know he's not getting close to a chip.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime soon, we know Lillard's not getting close to a chip, right?
I mean, Miami made it this year.
Wow. So you're saying, okay,
Anything can happen.
okay.
Anything can happen, my guy.
Okay. Well, with that being said, what do you think of Monty Williams getting to the bag from the Detroit
Yeah, so we're
Pistons?
going we're going from guys that don't have jobs to guys that get new jobs. I know Monty Williams a little bit. He was
Yeah.
an assistant coach when I was an intern and when I was at PR, and he was always around. Um, one of the kind of unwritten rules, if you're not a player or a coach, just be invisible, right? Don't bother anybody. Only say anything or engage if you have some value to add. If you have some game notes or some stats or requests that they had. I remember one random request I had was, Will Barton got drafted in the second round and was real bummed out. Um, Jay Triano hit me up and said, "Hey, can you get me a list of all the All Stars that were drafted in the second round?" 2 minutes later, print it out, hand it to him, and he goes, "I have a conversation with Will Barton on draft night about keep your head up, kid." And so those types of small things. Monty Williams was always it was hard to get a read on him until one time I saw him at Clackamas Town Center. I was with, I think we were married. My wife at the time, Crystal. He was with 4 of his 12 kids, or however many kids he had. He had a gaggle of kids. I don't think it was the full set though. Um, and we had never spoken at that point, but we crossed paths, we locked eyes. It was one of those things. And he goes, "Hey man, how you doing?" From then on out, I was like, Monty's a cool guy, right? Like, because a lot of times these guys that are too good, like they're held at this level where you're not allowed to talk to them. unless you have something to benefit them. Uh, they act that way and they carry themselves a certain way. So I think he's a good dude. Couple that with him losing his wife, all that drama that went down when he first started out at Phoenix and how he
Yeah.
handled that. Really strong man of faith. Love him as a person. That being said, I don't know if he's that good of a coach. I don't know if he's that good of a coach.
Let's keep it
I
real,
mean,
Kris. Let's keep it real and raw here.
what they had in Phoenix,
He got the raw end of the stick
you could
there. They got a new owner.
they got a new owner. There was drama going on, but I'm just saying the talent he had on that court, and I don't know. There's so much that goes on behind closed doors that we don't know about with drama in the locker room, power struggles, relationships, touches, all that stuff. Um, but he had a pretty full deck to begin with. He had a pretty good team.
They had a 2-0
Picks up. He
lead in
has
the
a
finals.
he walks into a situation with Devin Booker, low expectations of winning. You add Chris Paul, you get the number one pick, or vice versa. You get Kevin Durant in there. He had a pretty loaded deck, and they didn't deliver. And the coach is always to blame, and it's always the coach first and the GM second, And it's a business, That's what I always say when tough things happen. It's a business. So I think he got overpaid.
Well, there's a
But go
reason
get your
why.
bag, man. But yeah, and he's a good dude, and good things, good people deserve good things. So I'm happy he got that, but I think he got overpaid.
Yeah, he definitely got overpaid. Um, I tell you this, man. Phoenix, did they get an upgrade because they hired Frank Vogel? They get a coach with championship experience who's coached,
Who's a coach too? Like
coaches
he's not a former
defense.
player that he's not a former player that walks in, plays assistant coach for a while, becomes a hot name, gets a job, picks up a hot team. Like he had to work. He's from that Thibodeau. He's from that Belichick. These dudes that
Grind.
Spolstra, those dudes that had to grind to get there and weren't just like a Steve Nash or a Jason Kidd. Like, yeah, I'll try coaching. No,
Jason
I respect
Kidd,
that,
Derek
man.
Fisher, all these ex-point guards who get a job.
Fucking Terry Porter got a job. I think he has the worst record in NBA history as a coach, but we won't go there right now. Terry's
Yeah.
my guy.
I think that it's a good hire. However, the pressure's on, and I think Frank's gonna do good. He led LeBron and that team in a bubble, and every team had tough circumstances that year of 2020. Regardless if they got a layoff, every team had the same amount of time. We all got the same 24 hours, Kris. This is about what you do in those 24
Hey,
hours.
every company, every human being, everybody, not just the Hoopers.
And I think
Yeah,
it's
preach.
I think it's a good hire to go back on Monty. How about that? Both coaches from that NBA Finals are no longer with their team. Now, who's a better coach, Monty Williams or Budenholzer? I don't know. But,
Budenholzer.
well, you got your ass kicked by Miami this year. So, I don't know. The proof is in the pudding here. You know what I mean? And we'll see what what is it? Not Adrian Dantley, the coach that Miami.
Wojnarowski.
Well, no, not him. Why can't I
Who are
think
you
of his
talking about?
name? The coach that Milwaukee hired.
I don't know. They made a hire. Adrian something?
Yeah, he was the assistant coach for. We're gonna have to cut this out. Fuck. Sorry, cut this out.
Nah, we're going. This is raw. Adrian
Who?
Griffin.
Yeah, I don't.
Griffin.
I don't know if that's a
And
better.
he hired Terry Stotts.
Yeah, Terry
He
Stotts.
hired Terry
So I don't
Stotts.
know if Adrian
Let's
Griffin is a
go.
better. Come on. I don't know.
Hey, Stotts is going to coach that team. Stotts is going to coach that team.
But how weird is that? He
That's
was
cool.
already the coach. He was the coach in Milwaukee before he got fired. And to go back to Frank Vogel,
Yeah, I know.
coached a good Indiana Pacer team, a young Paul George, David West, Roy Hibbert,
Danny Granger.
Danny Grant. That was a solid Indiana team. And
Jamal Tinsley.
those 2 years that they played Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals were solid matchups against a stacked Miami team.
Paul George gave LeBron James 98% of what LeBron James could handle.
Yeah. So
And before his leg went snap.
so I think it's a good hire by Phoenix, and I think that KD, I don't know if he's got the muscle this time to be like, oh, I don't like Frank, I don't like this, because he wanted Steve Nash out, he wanted Sean Marks out, he wanted all these people out. So it's time for KD to start pointing those five fingers at himself and be like, all right, I got to get better as a player, as a teammate, because guess what? They don't got the bench that Monty Williams had. So it all is on Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Cameron Payne, DeAndre Ayton.
You know, I'm gonna
It's on them now.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna have a hot take there, but no, I'm with you. I'm with you. It's gonna be a long off season. It'll be a fun off season. It'll give us content to talk about. Speaking of content, now we've talked about all the other 28 teams in the league. What about the two that are left playing? I feel like a lot of times they get lost in all this gossip and hot rumors and talk. So we just saw Miami, who I believed Miami was going to get swept. And here's the thing, okay? I'm a little superstitious, so if I want Miami to win, I'm going to say Denver's going to sweep them, just because I don't know. I'm weird. Um, Miami looked like they can hang today, and Jimmy Butler, Hemi Buckets hasn't shown up. Jimmy Butler has, but Hemi Buckets hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
Once he shows up, let's see him show up in Miami. When is that? Wednesday? Let's see him if he shows up on Wednesday in Miami. They take the lead. That could give the momentum to go 3-1. These Nuggets are not coming back from 3-1. I'm sorry. Jamal Murray's looked nice, real nice. He's looked like Bubble Murray. His dunk on what's his name, Struss today looked real nice. Flexed on him. I think he deserved to take that shot at the end of the game because they were down 9 and he hit 2 threes to get them within 3. And I feel like that's the golden rule in basketball. You hit your last couple, you have the green light to take the next shot no matter
Heat check.
what. Heat check, no matter what. Jordan Poole doesn't understand that rule. But Jamal Murray, he's Jokic is going to do his thing, right? We were watching the game, me and KJ, and he's just always in the right place at the right time. It's like you can call it luck, but some people say luck is preparation meets opportunity, whatever, whatever. I just hate watching Jokic, bro, and I will not get off. I will die on that hill. What's your take on the first 2 games?
Luck has to find you working. You know what I'm saying? And I think that Miami's just been working. They're grinders. And that game 1, even though it was a rout in a way, Miami still had action in the fourth quarter. And game 2 just said, hey, I'm going to come out. My bench players or starters, Struess, I'm going to hit 4 threes in the first quarter. Gabe Vincent, I'm going to give you
Ooh, you
15 in
look
the first
nice.
half. Duncan Robinson, I'm going to come in the fourth quarter and give you 10 points. And Jimmy Buckets, he's still there. I think we found him, but, he still hasn't figured out his flow yet. I don't know if that's defense or him just being tired. They've played a lot of games. He's played a lot of minutes. I mean, he played 40 minutes tonight. But on the other hand, Jokic, he had 4 assists tonight, and the others for Miami came to play. And that is really the difference. And I think that goes for any team that makes it this far in the playoffs is your others have to play solid. The turnovers. Caldwell
Do you have
Pope,
the stat
he's
sheet
a
in front of you?
starter. He fouled out.
You got the stat?
I do.
Do you have the stat? Do you have the stat sheet for tonight's game? What's poor MPJ's
Yes.
line?
2 for
What's his
12,
line?
1 for 6.
Bet right there.
Plus or minus
And
15. That's the
he
stat I love. Plus or minus is 15.
oh yeah, the plus or minus. So his Aaron Gordon gets a pass because he's guarding Jimmy Butler. So if his offense isn't there, I give him a pass, right? His defense is more important than his offense in this series. MPJ, what's going on? Where are you at? I think it's because he kicks his legs when he shoots. That bothers me so much. How much room for error can you add to a jump shot when you flick your legs every time you shoot, bro? Like less motion, less room for error. What was? Come on, that's on Brandon Roy for not coaching them better.
Yeah. I, the others played well for Miami tonight, and that's just what it boils down. And how about this though, Chris? They're going to get a starter back in at least game 3 or game 4.
I know. I thought he was going to come back tonight.
They're getting Tyler Hero back. So
Yeah, I heard he might come back tonight. I was thinking about that.
I mean, obviously we know he's going to be rusty, but as a rookie in the bubble, he gave you that face like this, Chris. You remember? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He hit a couple of those shots, and so I think
He's
that,
got that Wisconsin swagger.
and I mean, you look at Miami's stat sheet. I mean, they put Kevin Love in tonight, and I think that Kevin Love, they need just bigger bodies out there because
Yeah,
Denver is so big in general. Aaron Gordon is a 6'8", 6'9". Michael Porter is 6'11". Jokic is
yeah.
7 foot. So you just need some taller players out there to have just to be bigger bodies. K Love with 10 rebounds. His plus or minus was 18. I think that it was a great.
I noticed there was a. Oh, sorry, I cut you off, my guy. It was no. It was a great what?
It's just a great look to see somebody from Portland, Kevin Love, 5 for 5 in
Ah,
the NBA Finals. Another local guy, Lake Oswego, graduate, playing in the NBA Finals again at a high
I call
level.
him. I call him Portland adjacent. Like my dude never. He wasn't in the city lines. We'll give him Lake Oswego. Also, Lake Oswego is in the Three Rivers League, and they're rivals. So it's hard to give the man props, but especially since my younger brother Carson played against him. Coming up in high school. So my thing is, I watched a couple of times. Jokic was on the high block, and Bam made a very exhausting effort to front him post because Kevin Love was behind him. So Bam is now fronting Jokic because Kevin Love's behind him, and that's exactly what you were saying with having more big bodies out there. You just surround the guy and put some more lumber around him, and it's going to slow him down. He's going to throw up some wacky European bullshit, which he did. So
Wow, some
I really
prayers. He
appreciate
he
that.
definitely put up some prayers today on those
Oh,
drives.
it was Sunday. He was in church today for sure. Didn't go his way, but
So what
when
do
you
you
have
think going
plans,
forward?
God thinks
How
otherwise.
does this play out going forward?
uh, I'm gonna give you my wish list, and I'm gonna give you what's gonna happen. Okay, my wish list is Miami takes the next two. They go up 3-1. Denver wins the next two. Everyone thinks Denver has life, and then Miami takes Game 7 at home. I mean, on the road. I'm sorry, on the road. That's not gonna happen though. What's gonna happen is Denver's gonna go to Miami. They're gonna split. They're gonna come back. Denver's gonna win that next game at home and make it 3-2, and then they're gonna win Game 6 on the road. So I still have the Nuggets in 6. They're going to split the next two, and then Denver takes the next two after that. What do you got?
I agree. I can see Miami coming out winning game 3, and then Denver, they just split back and forth. And then, Denver wins the next two and they win the chip in Miami. However, I'm really tempted to see what type of legs Tyler Hero has in
Oh,
in
he's
game
going to be a
3.
decoy.
But I
I
think
mean,
but just having
hey,
that
let me
experience.
ask you this. Let me ask you this. Let's double click on Tyler Hero. I was talking to KJ about this, and I assume my man's been doing cardio every day. I assume my man is still in game shape, lung wise, respiratory wise. I hope he's been doing that cardio in Denver. One thing that I think the reason they lost game 1 was because of the altitude difference. Their style of play was the same, but shots just weren't going down. Dudes didn't have their legs, they didn't have their lungs. It looked different tonight in game 2. I think they got used to it. I hope Tyler Hero was doing his cardio while he was in Denver in the mile high atmosphere. I think playing through a broken hand, even if it's your shooting hand, you're going to be all right. I think he's going to be all right. The thing you worry about, because basketball while shooting, and he's a shooter in the purest form, yes, that is upper body, but everything else in basketball is lower body. If you had a knee injury, a hip injury, an ankle, a shin, a calf, anything below the waist, every step you take, you're worried. But if it's your hand, you're not worried every single step. So you can be more impactful, just as intense, get up and do, like really, and ride that adrenaline in that home crowd. I know I had a little tangent there, but what's your take on playing on a recovering upper body injury or a lower body injury in the NBA and basketball versus other sports or other injuries?
All hands on deck right now, Kris. All hands on deck.
It's the chip. Yeah, it's the finals.
Not I don't. Okay, listen. We both didn't get to this level, but I think about this on the outside. Looking in, armchair quarterback as we do. If I gotta motivate your ass in the NBA Finals, then you doing something wrong, bro.
You in the wrong profession.
Yeah, there shouldn't be motivation here. You know what's on the line.
Al natural.
Okay.
Yeah.
We know
And
what
if he's
is
worried about
on
his
stake.
if he's worried about his if he's worried about his bucket hat and his bracelet matching, he's in the wrong profession.
So
that's
all
I
gotta
think you
say.
can do both,
That's
though.
how I feel. You know what I mean? Enough said. Like
Okay.
it's NBA Finals. What?
Hey, enough said.
Say less.
Enough said. Hey, speaking of enough said and say less, we're gonna try something new on the program here. We're gonna give Gitano a minute on the clock to speak about topics that Kris doesn't necessarily follow or care about or give respect to, but he respects Gitano, and so he's going to give him this time. So, Gitano, you got 3 topics right now that I may chime in on, but otherwise, sir, you have the floor. Let's put this on the clock.
All right. Next week, June 10th, is the Super Bowl of soccer. We got Inter Milan versus Man City. All right. We got Inter Milan, going for what? I think their 4th championship. Man City is going for their 1st. We have PSG telling Messi, hey, the GOAT. That's like telling LeBron, we don't need you anymore. And that sounds kind of crazy. Right now, we got F1 going. Today, we had the Spanish Grand Prix. Max Verstappen wins his 5th race out of 6, his 3rd in a row. But, everybody's favorite, Lewis Hamilton, got 2nd. He's in 4th place right now in the championship. So, and he was voted Racer of the Day. And, F1 is a great sport. We had the Miami Grand Prix a couple weeks ago, Monaco last week. So, we got a lot of good things going on in European sports.
Woo! Just under the buzzer. JD, how do you feel about that? You feel like you got it in? You got everything off your chest, or do you want to go to overtime?
I need an overtime because we got to talk about one last sport. That's the NHL, only because it's the Stanley Cup and Las Vegas Golden Knights. They won Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs last night, and that's just to all these expansion franchises out here that Vegas is in their 4th year and they're already playing for their 2nd championship. And I think that can happen. Hopefully we get MLB to Portland Sunday. And it's different in baseball. But if Seattle can get a basketball team and turn it around, I don't know. Hockey is a tough sport. I don't know too much about it. But at the same time, this team has played for 2 championships in 4 years.
Does that just mean that that hockey's not that hard? If you can go from an expansion team to playing in 2 chips in 4 years, is it just hockey's lame?
I don't know. You tell me. Seattle Kraken, they almost made it to the Western Conference Finals.
Cracking up here, baby. Exactly my point. They were an expansion team last year, first inaugural season. This year they make the playoffs. Hockey's trash. End of hot take from me.
Yeah.
JD, but
you can there
is something interesting, though, that I want you to speak on this real quick, though. There is something interesting about the state of Florida and the city of Miami that's going on in the sports world right now. And that may prompt another topic.
I think that's that both teams are 8 seeds. Miami's an 8 seed, and the Florida Panthers are an 8 seed, and they're both playing for a
Two
championship.
Florida teams. Is Florida Panthers, they play out of Miami?
A Jace, I guess.
Near enough. Near enough. Well, the fact that they're both playing and there's other similarities. JD, it reminds me of there was a 30 for 30 episode. I believe it was called June 17th, 1994 was the official title on ESPN. And while that's not one of my favorite or all-time five best 30 for 30s, there's over 120 of them. I looked on Wikipedia. Here's some of my favorites, and I want to hear if any of these resonate with you and some of your favorites as well. So, the greatest mixtape ever.
That's
We know
new.
the answer to that, but that's the title. That's the title of the episode. On and one, Ray for Olsen, Skip to My Lou. That has a special place in my heart because I remember in 1999 going to Foot Locker, getting this free VHS, bringing it to my high school, playing it during free period. Who my teacher was my coach, and he freaking hated it, and he hated me for playing it because he was an old school fundamental guy, Gus. And but anyway,
Hey, Chris, I got a
that
question for you
era,
though. Do you remember we traded
yeah.
those tapes?
Oh yeah, that was like drugs. We were flipping those
But I gave you my 5-star tape for the and one
for
mix.
the OG. Do you still have the OG?
I sure do.
Hey man, let's bust that out.
I sure
I have a
do have it
VHS too.
still. The one that you gave me,
I got
Chris,
this little.
I still have it. And
I got this little.
yeah,
I got this little device that takes VHS and puts it on digital. You ship that up here. I'm gonna put it on the show. We'll play some clips
not
from
gonna
that.
be able to do it. I don't let these tapes out of my possession. Not gonna be able to do it. I still
Even if they're not rightfully yours.
no. Hey, it's like asking somebody, man, can I borrow my stuff, Chris? Not gonna be able to do it, Chris.
Nah, that's mine, dog. All right.
Can't
So
do it.
other 30 for
You might
30s.
can I borrow that and
Greatest
you let me
mixtape
borrow
ever.
it?
Bet. uh Dion's double play was a really good one. We all knew
Yeah.
it happened, but we didn't have the access to it. We were like 8, 7, 8, 9 years old at the time when it happened. So seeing that as an adult was like, this dude got on a plane or a helicopter and went to just whoop, 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 playing to two major, like as
World
not as a role
Series.
player or bench player, but as a stud. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, I hate Christian Leitner. I don't. But the show is called I Hate Christian Leitner. It's about Duke and how Duke is just this hated team. Really well, good perspective, good time to catch up with Christian Leitner. The Fab Five was good. Pony Express, I really liked because everyone heard about the sanctions with SMU, but to hear the story of how it went down, you get empathy for these guys, and you realize also like they were doing some things too, and you don't get hit with sanctions unless you're doing something good and you're making enemies. So if you're dominating, you're going to get some people trying to pull your card. Um, the Bo Jackson one we all liked. Once Brothers, Drazen Petrovic getting some FaceTime was good. The Allen Iverson one where there could have been no Allen Iverson. He could have been gone to jail before he went to Georgetown and never went to Georgetown because of that bowling alley brawl. And it's good to hear that detail and see where he came from. But my number one favorite was called Unguarded, the Chris Herron story. Dude grew up in Fall River, Massachusetts. I read a book on him when I was young enough to still be reading books. Went on to Fresno State for Coach Tark. Was a leader there, went to the league. All along the while, picked up a opioid addiction before it was opioid addiction America, before it
Yeah.
was a thing. I don't want to call him an early adopter or a trendsetter because that's not cool. But dude was running out to the loading dock to get some Vicodins while he was in his shooting shirt, in between layup lines on a professional basketball game. That it's insane to hear that. So that was a tangent, but 30 for 30s, dudes who are into sports and the story behind the story, really appreciate that series. I know you do too. So I'm curious to hear what are some 30 for 30s that stick out to you, and then we'll go ahead and get out of your ear after that.
You know, I'm a football head, and I just love the story about all the football teams. You can start with the U, the best that never was, and Marcus Dupree. We can talk about Randy Moss and Rand University, Brian Bosworth. We can talk about the 5-part Emmy Award winning OJ series. I'm not black, I'm OJ, as Jay Z said on the 444. I'm a football guy,
Hmm.
and I think they did a really good job of Rob Murminovich, the quarterback from USC,
Yeah.
the 1984 draft with Elway, Marino, all those guys. I love football ones. They haven't dove into the one that we have been waiting for a while, Kris, and that's about our hometown. I don't know if it's going to get picked up on Netflix, but the 30 for 30 that all of us want to hear and know about, those Jailblazers.
Yeah, I want to hear about the Jailblazers too. And that
E-
was, having worked there, for a decade, it came up many times, and no official request came across what I was looking at, and an official request did come across. They wanted to do an undercover boss episode with Paul Allen at one point, and that was a hard
mm.
no. But nothing ever came from ESPN, although my bosses said they were in contact with producers and they just kept shutting it down because that doesn't reflect good on Portland, man. We got enough problems with Odin and Sam Bowie and Durant and Jordan. We and Brandon Roy. We don't need those problems. So
But
there's
okay,
content
I
out
got
there.
a question for
The
you
players
then.
will talk and the media will talk, but the organization will not talk.
I got a question. Is Brandon Roy part of the Jailblazers? Because I thought the Jailblazers, and
Nah.
it's like a 3 to 4 year period. My question has always wanted to be, and always, even though we love him, he's a hometown hero, is Damon Stoudemire. Why is you wrapping
Mm.
the Dozier up in foil going through a metal detector? I just
I mean, he's the type of guy that probably puts tin foil in a microwave too. You know what I'm saying? He
I've
probably puts
always wanted
silverware
to
in that
ask that
shit.
question, Kris, because if it don't make dollars,
It don't make
and
sense.
and it's never made sense to me that y'all doing like I mean and the stories about Dame, the cops coming into the house, his dad taking the lead on those things, the Rasheed Wallace. I hear stories back in the
Hmm.
day of Cliff Robinson and those guys, and this is before the Jailblazers, but Cliff Robinson and those guys, R.I.P. to Uncle Cliffy, Mr. Spliffy, driving around on Broadway with their paintball guns, shooting people with red paintballs that look like they got shot. Have you heard those stories, Kris?
I mean, I know the one that sticks out to me is Quintel Woods getting pulled over, driving a Mercedes or some shit, and he said, "Do you have ID?" And he looks at the cop and says, "No." Well, I got this basketball card of me. He gave him a Topps trading card and said, "Here's my upper deck card, bro. It looks like me, right?"
Are you? I've never heard this.
Google
Wow,
it.
that
Google it.
that's a
That,
good one
that
because
is a
I think that's
thing.
the 30 for 30 that every sports person wants to hear about.
Everywhere. Everywhere. But yeah, hey JD, it was really good catching up, bro. We need to do more like this. We're in and out under 50 minutes. We're shortening our length for you, JJ. We're trying to get it under that time so you guys hear it all the way through. But we're still evolving. We're still growing. I'll catch up with you next week. I'm sure there's going to be a ton to talk about.
Well, Kris, like I said before, and in the show, this podcast might not last forever.
Yes, sir. All right, my guy. I'll talk to you next week.